So this is one of our last lunch and learns for the end of the year. We only have one more lunch and learn coming up with Jim Warner on December 14th, and that's a Friday as well. We'll be back over in the Ross Hart Hospital Auditorium. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Mark Conselyea, and I hope he understands that I have a tough time pronouncing last names. Mark has over 25 years of healthcare operations, planning, and management experience, most of which has been at Ohio State. In 2013, he was appointed to Associate Vice President of the Wexner Medical Center, where he's responsible for strategic leadership for all facility planning, design, and development. He works closely with leaders across the university to ensure facility planning is strategic, collaborative, and integrative. Mark serves on our President's and Provost Council on Sustainability and has recently established the Wexner Medical Center Sustainability Council. And for the first time ever, the Wexner Medical Center has formally adopted sustainability goals. Good to know. Mark graduated with honors from the University of Cincinnati in 1991 with a BS in Health Services Administration. He holds a master's in Health Services Management and Policy from The Ohio State University and graduated in 1997. So please give a warm round of applause for Mark.
Thank you all very much. Can you hear me okay in the back? Great. Well, it's really an exciting opportunity for me to talk to you today about sustainability. As you heard from the introduction, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect. I guess I'm a planner. I'll pretend I'm a planner now that I've been doing it for a few years. But really, most of my career has been in hospital operations. But when we decided to build the James, I became involved heavily in the development and design of that project, and really now do facility planning for the medical center, along with a lot of my colleagues that have joined us in the room today in support of this presentation. So, if we get to some technical questions, I'll defer to Mike as our resident engineer or to Bill as our resident architect, and we'll get through it. So, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things. First, we're going to talk about big picture, The Ohio State University, and what their vision is, really, I guess our vision is for sustainability. And we'll then talk about a number of goals that they have that have really been in development for quite some time, but for the past couple of years, we've really been actively working those goals. And there's quite a bit of infrastructure across the university that's focused on that. So we'll talk about the goals and the progress to date and where we're headed with each of those. And then as I became involved a couple of years ago on the President's and Provost Council for Sustainability, looking to be able to really integrate the medical center more into what the university is trying to do for sustainability. We developed a Wexner Medical Center Sustainability Council, and we've now formally adopted those goals, and we'll talk a bit about that. And then we'll talk more broadly about healthy buildings and what you can do and how we think about designing those buildings and the systems that are inside of them and how the operations go so that we do have a healthy building. And as you probably are aware, we are thinking about designing, and we are in the middle of designing, and we're thinking about developing some major new hospital, health sciences, research, teaching buildings right here on the core of campus. Plus we have really thousands of buildings across the campus and hundreds within the immediate area here in the core of campus that are in need of renovation, are old, and we need to take care of those. So anytime we want to renovate something, there's lots of opportunity to do and implement more sustainable practices. And then finally, we'll talk a bit about how to get more involved in sustainability, where you can learn more at the university and outside the university. I'd be happy to have this be interactive rather than me just talking to you for 30 minutes. So feel free to interrupt me with any questions that you have along the way. So really, what is Ohio State's vision for sustainability? They do have a large number of goals which we'll review, but really it's about trying to create a culture of sustainability. And right now, some of us put on a sustainability hat and we talk about sustainability for a meeting or two or for a project, but really what the university needs to have is a culture of sustainability, that everything that we're doing, everything we're talking about, regardless of what area of the institution you're in, what your focus is, that there's a sustainability component. And I hope to show you throughout this presentation that there's a lot of ways to think about sustainability, and the university has really adopted a very comprehensive view of what sustainability means. It's not just recycling. And you'll see that through the goals. So as we talk about the goals, you'll see it has to do with education and research, patient care, community engagement, innovation. So the President's and Provost Council is really a committee that the university established to make sure that we really are developing long-range vision for improving the sustainability of the entire campus. Members on the council represent leaders from academics, research, operations, student life, student government, and it really is intended to provide advice to the president and provost on sustainability initiatives. We meet monthly or every other month and advise Ohio State on the use of a sustainability fund. That fund is something that was set up with actually, I believe the balance is in the millions of dollars right now, $1 to $2 million. And so every year there's an opportunity for folks across campus to compete for those funds and propose a sustainability initiative. It could be something that's $10,000 to do something in your area. It could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'll give some examples of that a little further in the presentation. But one recently that the medical center just is moving forward is related to research buildings. So in the BRT, I think there's somewhere in the neighborhood of over 200 minus 80 freezers. And those freezers are generally purchased with first dollar cost in mind, and they're not always the most efficient freezers. And the total number of freezers is probably not exactly what we need to have, because those samples, some of them are 20, 30 plus years old and may not be needed. So we can reduce the number of freezers we have, we can buy more efficient freezers, and we can have a very direct impact on the energy load of those buildings. And the research buildings, you probably are aware, are very high users of energy. And like I said, it's developed and shepherds along the university's sustainability goals. So let's talk about what those goals are. They're really in 4 areas: teaching and learning, research and innovation, outreach and engagement, and resource stewardship. And we'll walk through them individually. So first, to deliver a sustainability curriculum throughout the university and to teach sustainability in innovative ways in and out of the classroom. And this was really particularly striking to me when I was thinking and just getting involved in sustainability. And I think a slide or two ahead has the number, but there's, I think, over 1,000 courses offered in the university that in some way touch on sustainability. So the university really views itself as having a responsibility to shepherd and educate stewards of the university and of the environment. So really educating freshmen as they come in and giving them opportunities to learn more about sustainability and actually have a sustainability degree program. So yeah, more than 1,000 sustainability courses each semester. There's an undergraduate major in environment, economy, development, and sustainability, and you can do a capstone project on sustainability. There's the Green Buckeye Pre-Enrollment Program, which really tries to engage our students in sustainability. Different competitions, again, lots of opportunities for students to get involved. So we're really trying to foster the next generation of and folks to really take care of our environment and give them an opportunity to have an impact, not just at Ohio State, but as they go out across the country and really across the world. On research and innovation, really trying to reward sustainability scholarship and engagement, encourage new sustainability knowledge and research. So you can see here there's a number of areas across the campus that have research really focused on sustainability. The Center for Applied Plant Science, Center for Automotive Research, Bird Polar Climate Research Center, Center for High Performance Power Electronics, Energy Research Lab, Coal Congestion Products Program, Institute for Materials Research, Subsurface Energy Resource Center. The Discovery Themes has a component of environmental stewardship as well. Over $500 million will be invested over 10 years. We'll have 8 interdisciplinary programs at Ohio State related to sustainability, and have sustainability actually as a theme for research. And really, as we do in multiple programs across the university, to really try and partner with industry. So to date, we have over 500 faculty conducting sustainability scholarship programs, over $32 million in energy and environmental research grants. The OSEP is the energy partner, Ohio State Energy Partners. You probably have heard of this group, but that's who we have managing our energy resources now. So that infrastructure has been passed on to them, and they're really partnering with us to make investments in our buildings and our infrastructure to really improve the energy use here at Ohio State. And you'll see that in some of our later goals, some of the long-range targets for that. And their financial performance is directly tied to our achievement of those goals. Again, on sustainability, having a broad outreach component to it, not just a narrow focus, really trying to partner both on campus and off campus to encourage sustainability practices and programs here locally and globally. We have the Olentangy River Restoration and Green Space Expansion Program. Prince Albert of Monaco came here within the past couple of years, who has a commitment to climate change in the world. There's other student sustainability programs. NG, CFO NG, our energy partner, is engaged with the university as well. So really there's a lot of infrastructure here, a lot to build on, a lot to partner with the outside community. We've got the Smart Columbus Partnership, which you know we're now one of the smart cities, which is really looking at how we manage our transportation and other infrastructure and incorporate sustainable practices. And we're part of the university's Climate Change Coalition. So there are a number of universities across the country that have signed on to climate initiatives, and we're one of the signature partners to that. So this next set of goals is really about resource stewardship, and these are very specific, measurable targets that we're trying to achieve. They're aspirational, they're big picture, they're long range, I think aspirational probably really says it all. These are big targets. So, university's carbon footprint reduced 25% by 2025. The big one really here is this carbon neutrality, so that we limit carbon emissions by 2050. I heard Jim Warner's going to give a talk here next week, but locally he works in our nutrition services area, and as far as the university is looking to locally source 40% of its food by 2025. Ecosystem services. This started out as being something where you talk about, let's just double our tree canopy on campus, but this is really more comprehensive in that we try and double our acres that provides at least one ecosystem service by 2025. And that has to do with stormwater management or other filtration and green spaces and tree canopy, just as a more comprehensive view of that. Water consumption reduced 5% per capita every 5 years. Zero waste. 90% of our waste going away from landfills by 2025. And there is a video, and maybe you're aware of it, but the stadium has a zero waste policy, and actually right now, over 95% of the waste from a football game is diverted to landfills, or diverted from landfills. There's about an 8-minute video on YouTube that you can find that really takes you through the process. I watched it again before coming in here and decided that it probably wasn't the best thing while we're all eating lunch, but it's really interesting to watch because you can really see from what it takes to get it done and how really impressive it is, and we lead the Big Ten in being able to do that. Building energy consumption reduced 25% by 2025, and then preferred products, develop and implement standards by 2025. And that's really about making sure that we have rapidly renewable products, we have recyclable products, those kinds of things. So let's drill into each of those a little bit more. Our Director of Transportation and Traffic Management is here. Beth, raise your hand. Call you out. So she helps to oversee our busing program, and you may have seen these buses around campus. We've just purchased several more, and they run on compressed natural gas instead of normal fuel, diesel fuel. So we have a new compressed natural gas station. We actually service city buses as well. Here's an image of it, and here's one of our compressed natural gas buses. You can see at the top there, that's where kind of how you can tell that they've been converted. And our compressed natural gas buses result in a 15% CO2 reduction. Here's a better image of that. You can see City of Columbus trash comes here to get their compressed natural gas. Some of our fleet's been converted, and Beth recently has submitted a proposal to the President's and Provost Council for the university fleet to beyond just traffic and transportation management fleet. There's lots of other university vehicles, and she's established a incentive program to eventually convert that fleet over to compressed natural gas or electronic vehicles. Over the past year and a half, the university was working on their framework plan. You may have heard that getting rolled out over maybe 6 months or so now that we did that. And that was really the university's long-range look of how the university is going to develop, breaking it out into districts, think of it as zones, and what's the appropriate development for each of those areas, the athletics district, the health sciences district, the academic core. And within that, there was also sort of this overarching theme of sustainability and overarching theme of pedestrian, automobile, traffic and transportation. And so bringing those two things together, you see that the university is really trying to become a much more pedestrian and bike-friendly environment and move to a park once model. So you've seen a lot of the cars to go around campus, the Zagsters, bike rentals, additional bike storage lockers, that kind of thing. So again, trying to make the entire campus a more green campus. Encouraging students and staff to use the CABS bus system and to use CODA transportation. So carbon neutrality, again, trying to get to carbon neutral. We've already achieved 5.1% move towards that target, but this is probably of all of the impacts that we can have on the environment, energy is the biggest one. So the biggest reductions we can make here, the more impact we'll have on our community. And that's in part why the comprehensive energy partnership that we have with ENGIE is so important. So really they are international experts on energy management. They've dedicated a large amount of money to the university to focus on improving energy systems. So what's going to happen over the next many years, starting with this year, is that NG and the university are going to come together with recommendations on what investment should be made to try and get us to this carbon neutral. So every year there'll be a capital plan that'll be developed, and then those will be funded out of the energy dollars. The ecosystems, we've already transitioned a number of acres to more sustainable types of environments. We've improved stormwater control. We're putting in new habitats and reducing herbicides and pesticides. The golf course has its own maintenance program related to sustainability. You know that we're working on Mirror Lake, and so there's a large component of sustainability on how that is set up and how the stormwater is managed. All of the work on Cannon Drive is another example. That's going to manage stormwater for a large component of the university and for even the new development on High Street. Potable water. So all of us are drinking, unfortunately, out of our bottled water containers today, but you may have, if you're a student here, you may have gotten the cup from Student Life to try and encourage folks to switch to that from bottled water. We already mentioned Mirror Lake and irrigation, but there's lots of other studies and efforts in this area across campus. Zero waste, we talked about game day. I'll show a video here in a moment about another thing that Student Life is leading related to dorms, and as people leave at the end of the year, how do they take care of all of kind of the leftover materials and unused furniture and furnishings. So we have over 12,000 tons of landfill annually, and about 83% of that could actually be diverted if we enhanced our recycling and diversion programs. So things like commingling, recycling programs, residence hall, the zero waste events, organics, composting and digestion. We do some of that in the medical center, we do some of that in the university, but there's lots of opportunity. The university's actually got a consultant underway right now looking at where can we take all of our materials, store them, sort them, and then get them off campus. So the entire university would hopefully eventually use that to really get us a big part of the way towards that reduction. So let me show you this quick video related to student life.
It is move-out day for students at Ohio State. Vehicles were seen lined up and overfilled carts were rolling in and out of dorms all day. But what you didn't see was the mountain of items that used to be tossed in the trash. NBC4's Rick Reitzel has more on the plan to keep all that stuff out of a landfill.
Last year, students for recycling were able to divert 6 tons of items like this from going into the landfill by using reduce, reuse, and recycle.
We collect everything from students moving out in the spring. We sort it throughout the summer.
When students move back in the fall semester, they can buy used items, and that money goes to a good cause.
Everything's very cheap, and we sell as much to students as possible. We donate to several different charities.
Like the Goodwill Donation Center, a half-mile north of campus, helping those in need.
So that can be anyone from new Americans, people with an intellectual or physical disability, veterans, youth, underserved groups. That's the whole point of Goodwill Columbus.
Students say they love it too.
I think it's absolutely amazing because, like, sustainability, I'm all about sustainability, and just having, all these good items that are probably pretty new.
Brendan Kirby dropped off this used carpeting.
It wasn't in the best of shape, but it's still a good shape, someone could use it, so I'd turn in, help someone out that was less fortunate than me.
In the next 7 years, OSU says it has a goal of keeping 90% of this waste out of landfills. At the Bush House on OSU's campus, Rick Reitzel, NBC4.
I mean, we really are. That wasn't planned. I mean, we really are a city, and we really need to have a program that's commensurate with our size. So you can imagine what the opportunity is there. And again, I really encourage you to look at that stadium video. It's really amazing. The student involvement here at the university, they bring in high school students to come in. That's the ones that are standing by the trash cans, making sure you put the waste in the right areas. The ROTC is the ones that go through, or part of the ones that go through the stadium and kind of pick up everything that's left behind, get it sorted, and then we partner with some local folks, some farms that want to take the compost and manage that for us and reuse it. And actually, some of that mulch actually comes back to the university to be used on our grounds. So locally sourced sustainable food sources, again, if we can get things close by. I think the target is 40% locally. So now, thinking about what the university does, we now want to focus on what does the medical center do. And we are really, frankly, dragging the rest of the university down in their recycling rates and their energy consumption. I mean, it's no surprise probably that we're a big user of energy, but we really haven't had a focused effort, at least not a comprehensive focused effort across the medical center until really these past couple of years. And there's a lot of excitement and energy and interest in doing more. There have been individual pockets throughout the medical center that have started initiatives on their own, but we're really trying to get them together, get them more organized, and get them really legitimized and endorsed and supported by the leadership of the medical center and health sciences, so that we really can kind of build on some of this momentum, build on what the university is doing in collaboration. And I really am feeling like the interest is growing, and our leadership, we do have our leaders' attention, so I think there's a great opportunity to capitalize on what we've started and do much better in the coming years. There are several health systems that do this very well, and I'll share some of the things that Cleveland Clinic is doing, but they're really the ones that I look to as the model. They've had an office of, I think it's called the Office of Office for a Healthy Environment, something like that. That's been around for 10 plus years, and so the amount of materials and institutional commitment and funding is remarkable, and that's where I hope to get us in the near future. So while I am very excited about these goals, they're not on the grand scale of what the university is looking like, but they really help us contribute to the university's overall goals. And this is our first year at trying to do these, so some of them are more organizational and informational, and some of them are actually specific and measurable, and hope will get us there. So first thing we did was really set up a charter for what the Wexner Medical Center Sustainability Committee is trying to do. And it's all about supporting what the university is trying to do, making sure that we're organized, that we're accountable and transparent, and that we engage the broadest possible audience that we can into our sustainability efforts. We integrate really with the university and all their campus teaching, learning, research, innovation, outreach, and engagement. So we're really supporting what the university's doing. And then we identify for leadership any barriers and gaps in our programs and what we need to be able to meet those goals. So we've got goals specific to facilities, to environmental services, nutrition services, information systems, human resources, and I'll just take you quickly through what those are. So part of this year is about getting a baseline, and we have some old systems, and not all of them talk to each other, and not all of them are easily quantified. So a lot of what we're trying to do is to get that baseline information and get the metrics in place. And then this relationship with the energy partner with the university, that's really very new, and we're not sure, haven't been sure exactly how we're going to interact with them. Some of the capital planning has become more clear, but we're really trying to understand and work closely with them. And one very specific one they have is really improve the lighting technology from the old lighting to moving more towards LED lighting. Information systems. We've got a large data center here at the university. The medical center happens to be out at Ackerman. It's a very energy-intensive area, and there's some ways to design the airflows around that to improve the energy consumption. And then printing, color printing, and just printing in general. How do we reduce that? So there's lots of tactics that they have to be able to do that. Nutrition services, our Bistro H, really trying to increase the amount of recycling and compostable materials coming out of there and make sure we get them to the right areas. And then supporting the 40% local and sustainable food sourcing. We do have a challenge in our medical center now because the dock that supports the medical center just is not designed to handle the volume that we have coming in and out, and to be able to store and separate the materials that we need to in order to really support the recycling program. So we're working closely with facilities, environmental services, and have some capital request ideas in place to try and improve those. Plus, as we're designing our new hospital, we're thinking very seriously about how we bring materials in and out of this building and in future buildings, and make sure that we can support a sustainable recycling and materials program. Environmental services, we talked about the diversion rate. It's pretty low right now, but as we make some changes to the dock, we think we can do better. And then reusable sharps containers is a big component of our waste, and something that if we move to reusables, we can do a lot better and divert a lot of containers from the landfill. Finally, in human resources, this is really about engagement and trying to promote and make folks aware of what we're doing. So we're trying to create some green teams in multiple locations throughout the medical center to get people involved, make folks aware of the work that we're doing, and get folks engaged. And then I'm not really familiar with exactly what this is going to be. It's getting formed, but trying to do a grain rounds that specifically focuses on sustainability and bioethics. And they want to try and do that around World Water Day as a way to try and build on the activities of that event. So I just want to quickly show you Cleveland Clinic's website to give you a feel of what I think is possible here in several years, and to give you a sense of what the group that's doing right is doing. So this is their Office for Healthy Environment. They have an annual report. They have lots of information. They tie it into the community. They tie it into their governance structure. See if I can get their CEO is heavily engaged and involved in it. I think I want to show you here. Just go to energy comfort, energy reduction. You can see they've been tracking since 2010 their energy utilization and how it's declined. So the point is that they really are advanced and really a model for what we could be. So next I want to move on to when we design our new buildings. What are some of the things that we take into consideration? What are our consultants telling us, architects, engineers? What goes into making a healthy building? So energy, again, is a big driver. So there are a number of factors within. This is an inpatient room, but the airflow, evaporation, the radiant heat that's coming in. I can't read what that is. The glare coming in, all really impact how the patient feels in that room and how much energy there is that it takes to heat and cool that area. So it's noise, it's odors, it's all those things. Access to nature. So again, a very broad view of sustainability and trying to create an environment that feels healthy and promotes wellness. So I'm going to take you through a couple of different projects and ways that they've focused on trying to reduce energy. So this happens to be Penn Medicine. And these areas at the bottom, the skin, the lighting, the comfort delivery, building plant, controls, users. So as we go through these couple of examples, you can see on what they prioritized to be able to meet their targets, and really looking at operational cost savings, energy use intensity, and based on meeting either energy consumption targets that they've set, or their building standards or LEED standards. LEED is kind of a green standard that you can try and reach. So all of these things have an impact on how much energy the building uses. So what type of glass versus solid wall they have on the outside of the building, the extent to which they use LEDs, how much outside air they bring in, how efficient their chillers and boilers are, what type of controls they have on their systems to be able to control the amount of air changes they have, the lighting. So here you can see in typical room the building skin, the light, the air that's coming in, the building plant, the controls, the people that are in there, they give off energy and warm the space. Again, this is another institution, Humber River. They focused on dynamic glazing so that there was a lot of glass and it changes the amount of light and energy that's allowed in. So when you make these kinds of investments, you look at them over a 10-year or 20-year payback period. So when you think about the model of the types of systems that you might choose, you can look at very specifically what the anticipated annual savings might be from an operating cost. So if it saves you $10 million over 10 years and you have a 10-year payback period, you've got that kind of dollars to invest in more efficient systems and know you're going to get that paid for in reduced operating costs over 10 years. Parkland, enormous hospital, over 2 million square feet. They had a 39% reduction by using LED lighting. And based on all the systems and controls they put in place, they're saving over $3 million a year operating costs. Packard Children's Hospital, within their rooms, they have a displacement ventilation system and radiant panels, which really, those have to do with airflow and how heat is introduced into the space. They are below industry standards by 30 to 45%. Montlake Tower in Seattle, again using chillers and central steam. They've saved over $200,000 a year. So all that to say, this is just a model that says when you look at the different types of components, when you know what your electrical cost is and the amount of square footage, and you have benchmarks for the amount of energy that you should use per square foot, you can make some assumptions about investments in different types of systems and how efficient they would be, how efficient your electrical system is, what your annual energy savings might be, any potential rebates that you would have, and the construction cost. And you can put all those things into a model and then come up with then what your payback might be, and then for the total project, think about how much money you have to spend on energy efficient types of systems. So beyond the energy, then you got to think about the site. And there's lots of different things to focus on here. So how you connect with the community, what type of alternate transportation you support, how you develop the site, and what sort of impact you make on the existing environment, how it impacts the community and, say, for example, stormwater or light pollution, your resilience during natural disasters, and your connection to the natural world, the amount of light coming in, those kinds of things. So some of these are applicable, but so for example, in a hospital, though, we're not going to have operational windows. But you can decide which ones of these you think there's interest in and really dive deep into them. On the water side, there's lots of uses of water in hospitals, kitchen, landscaping, cooling, heating, restrooms, medical equipment, laundry, and depending on the types of facilities you have, you can really have a large impact. A typical hospital uses 78 million gallons per year if they're 1.5 million square feet, which is a little bit bigger than the James. But using best-in-class types of materials, you can get that substantially down to only 13 gallons per square foot instead of 52 gallons per square foot. Looking at rainfall and how you manage that rainfall. Skip that. But think about, where does that water go? What amount of rainfall do you have? How do you use city water? How does that get recaptured to be used into different types of systems in the facility as opposed to going straight into the river? The experience that you have within these buildings is very important. We kind of touched on that with some of that inpatient room, but the connection to nature, the air quality, the accessibility to daylight, the types of materials that are in the space, both for staff and for patients. And we do a lot of this already in the medical center. We do pick a lot of recycled materials. We are establishing additional standards for the materials that we purchase. Our environmental services folks buy safe materials. There's lots of literature out there that really talks about the fact that you can have a direct impact on patients' health by the types of materials that you have in your buildings, whether it's phthalates, flame retardants, environmental services chemicals, the amount of green space that folks have access to. All these can have wellness impacts. These are all similar kinds of things: healthy materials, responsible design and construction practices, connection to nature. Here's a little bit more on the materials. Where do we get our resources? What type of harm does that have to the environment? How do we use recycled materials, regional products, rapidly renewable products, so that we're able to restore the environment? And we have a comprehensive chemicals policy here as well. This happens to be Kaiser's, but it really talks about the type of chemicals that you use and making sure that you follow industry standards. Declare is one example, but it's a very clear recording of the types of materials available. Those sheets are available for anybody to see. So again, just thinking about resources throughout the entire product cycle. So how you get it out of the ground, manufacture it, how it gets distributed, how it gets consumed, how it then gets collected, sorted, recycled, put back into the manufacturing process versus going to the landfill. So thinking about the materials, the material life cycle, rapidly renewable products. So I want to end on how all of you can get engaged. So we have the Sustainability Council here at the Medical Center. It's primarily focused on the Medical Center, but we'd like to get more involvement, particularly from the health sciences. There is an enormous amount of information available on the website at Ohio State. So I'm just going to click on that very quickly. And if you go out to Ohio State University, you just search for sustainability on Google, you'll find it. Sorry. Lots of resources. The sustainability goals are out here. Sustainability news. There's an interactive map, so you can go out and you can see. Well, it's supposed to be interactive. Well, there it goes. So you can see, pick anywhere, and you can see what's going on sustainability-wise and learn more about it. Sustainability news, all these different websites within Ohio State that you can go to: leadership, the Office of Energy Environment, the Provost Council, Food sustainability is a big focus here. Lots of things on recycling, transportation, alternative sources, all kinds of research, and then student programs, student groups. Again, all those academic programs are here and you can learn more. So that's really what I wanted to cover today. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you can find some ways to get more involved after today, and I'll open it up to questions. Anyone? Yes. Thank you for at least one question. I don't know that it's really ready for prime time. We'll be talking a lot to our energy partners about that to see what they think is feasible. My sense from talking to them previously is that you need a lot of land to be able to have the amount of infrastructure to make it have a payback. But Mike, do you have a thought? Other questions? Okay, well, thank you all very much.